The smell of roses was too strong. It was the first thing Daniel noticed, sweet, suffocating, like they were trying to hide something rotten underneath. Then came the cold. Not just a chill, but a deep, bone-dead cold that didn't make sense. He tried to move, even a finger. Nothing. His body was frozen. Still. Lifeless. Then, his eyes flickered open. Just a slit. White ceiling. Soft satin brushing his skin. Darkness pressing in around him. Panic bloomed in his chest. He tried to shout, to breathe, to do anything, but no sound came out. No movement. He was trapped. Then he heard voices. Footsteps. Heels clicking on marble. A laugh. Sharp. Feminine. Familiar. His heart twisted. It was Amelia. His wife. And she wasn't crying. She was laughing. "I thought I'd have to wait years," she said. A man chuckled beside her. "He made it easy, didn't he?" Daniel's eyes widened. His pupils darted beneath his lids. "What the hell is happening?" The man spoke again. "The funeral director says we've got 20 minutes before the service starts." "Plenty of time," Amelia replied. "To say our goodbyes." Another laugh. Casual. Almost flirtatious. Daniel's brain screamed. "I'm not dead." But his body, his mouth, his throat, refused to listen. 12 hours earlier, Friday morning. Daniel was in the garage, working on his old Triumph motorcycle. He'd had it since college, a rusted beast that roared to life only on its own terms. Sweat ran down his back as he leaned over the engine, tightening a stubborn bolt. Then it hit him. A flash of pain at the back of his skull. Blinding. Crushing. Like something snapped inside. He dropped the wrench, stumbled backward, and collapsed. Darkness. Nothing. When Amelia found him an hour later, she didn't scream. Didn't call 911. Instead, she stared at his body, checked his wrist, touched his lips. Her face was calm. And then, she smiled. Back in the coffin. Daniel focused on the ceiling above him. His vision blurred at the edges, but something in his mind was screaming, "This isn't right." This wasn't death. He could feel. He could hear. He could smell. He was alive. Trapped in a body that wouldn't move. He had read about this once, in an article about people being mistakenly declared dead. One word leapt into his brain: locked-in syndrome. A condition where the brain is awake, but the body is paralyzed. Could that be it? Was that happening to him? Outside the casket, voices rose again. Amelia. And the man. Closer now. "I booked the trip," the man said. "After the service, we're flying out. Private island. No one will find us." "Perfect," Amelia said. "We'll start fresh." Daniel's chest burned with fury. She planned this. She wants me dead. Maybe she did something to me. His mind raced through the last few weeks, her late nights, secret phone calls, her growing coldness. And then, another memory hit him. A glass of wine. Bitterness in the taste. He'd asked her about it. She said it was a new bottle. Imported. Now, he wondered if that glass was poisoned. The funeral hall, present. The room was mostly empty. Just a few co-workers Daniel barely knew. A distant cousin from out of town who left early. The priest hadn't arrived yet. Amelia stood near the casket, her hand resting lightly on the wood. "Goodbye, darling," she whispered. "You really should have paid more attention. But at least you'll finally be useful for something." She smiled. Behind her, a janitor named Ravi swept the floor. Indian, in his early 60s, sharp eyes hidden behind thick glasses. He noticed Amelia's tone. Something in his gut tightened. She sounded too happy. Too rehearsed. As she walked away, Ravi noticed something else. No tears. Not a single one. In the coffin. Daniel shifted all his focus to one point, his left thumb. If he could move anything, he had a chance. Even just a twitch. For an hour, he concentrated. Then, he felt it. A flicker. A twitch. Almost nothing, but it was real. He was coming back. Outside, the coffin was being moved now. Amelia gave a nod. Two men began wheeling it toward the hearse. Soft thuds echoed through the church hallway. Ravi stood watching. He noticed the urgency. Too fast. No family signature. No last rites. He walked quietly to the back office and peeked at the file left on the counter. No autopsy. No doctor's note. Just Amelia's signature. Fast-tracked. He frowned. Something wasn't right. He pulled out his phone and snapped a photo. Inside the hearse. The casket thudded into place. Daniel could feel every movement. Each bump. Each turn. And then, a breath. His own. Shallow. Weak. But real. He fought again. Tried to move his lips. They parted. Dry. No sound. Still, progress. Amelia and her lover sat in a black SUV behind the hearse. "We should have done this months ago," he said. "Too risky then," she replied. "But after his last episode, it was perfect." "He really thought you still loved him?" She rolled her eyes. Daniel was always too trusting. That was his biggest flaw. Back in the funeral hall. Ravi called the hospital listed on the file. A woman on the line confirmed what he suspected: Daniel had no DNR order. No declaration of death by an actual physician. Just Amelia's word. He hung up, heart racing. He had to act fast. In the ground. Daniel heard dirt. Soft at first. Then heavier. Thump. 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 They were burying him. God, no, please. He opened his mouth again. Air. Then sound. A gasp. A groan. Faint. But loud enough. At the grave. Ravi reached the cemetery just as the first shovel of dirt was dropped. He waved his arms. Stop. Stop right now. The workers froze. He ran to the man in charge. There's been a mistake. He's not dead. I have proof. Medical records, no declaration. No autopsy. This could be criminal. The man blinked. What are you saying? I'm saying that man might still be alive. Amelia saw Ravi. Her face drained of color. She walked up quickly. There's no problem. Everything's in order. But Ravi stared at her. There's something wrong here. I heard you earlier. You didn't sound like a widow. You sounded like someone who just got away with something. She looked around, realized people were watching. Leave now, she hissed. Open the casket, Ravi said to the grave staff. Now. Inside. Daniel heard shouting. Then, movement. The casket was lifted again. Screws being unscrewed. Hinges creaking. Light. Blinding. Voices. Gasps. One of the workers dropped his tool. His eyes, they're moving. Another shouted, get an ambulance, now. Amelia stepped back. Her lover pulled at her sleeve. Daniel's lips moved. "Help me." He was alive. Daniel's eyes fluttered, barely open, but they were enough to send shockwaves through the gathered crowd. Gasps broke out around the grave as the lid creaked open fully. The sunlight hit his pale face, and his lips quivered again. "Help me." One of the gravediggers dropped to his knees, his face pale. "My God, he's breathing." A paramedic, who had just arrived by chance for the final medical confirmation, pushed his way through the crowd, disbelief written across his face. "Step back," he shouted, jumping into the hole beside the casket. "He's alive, pulse is weak, but there." "Get the stretcher," another medic called out from the ambulance. Daniel couldn't speak again. His strength was slipping fast. But inside, he was screaming. Screaming for someone to hold on, to not let him go under again. His mind was foggy. But he saw her. Amelia. Standing a few feet away. Frozen. Her mouth slightly open. But not from grief. From fear. And beside her stood that man, the stranger from earlier. The one who had laughed with her. His arm now slowly moved away from her waist. Ravi, still watching from a few feet back, studied their faces. His gut told him everything. That wasn't the face of a shocked, loving wife. That was the face of a woman whose plan had just fallen apart. 30 minutes later, in the ambulance. Daniel lay on a stretcher, tubes in his nose, and 4 in his arm. His eyelids opened slightly now and then. Every few minutes, he managed a faint breath. The doctors called it a miracle. "He's suffering from extreme temporary paralysis," one of them explained to the officer at the scene. "Possibly toxin-induced. We won't know for sure until tests come back." The word toxin stood out like a gunshot. The officer raised an eyebrow. "You mean poison?" "We're not ruling it out." The ambulance doors slammed shut and sped toward the hospital, sirens blaring. Back at the cemetery, Amelia was nowhere to be seen. Amelia's house, same night. Amelia paced the living room like a caged animal. Her hands shook, her face blotchy. She threw the wine glass against the wall. It shattered with a sharp crack. Across from her, the man, Jason, sat stiffly on the couch. "We need to leave," he said. "Tonight. Right now." "He wasn't supposed to wake up," Amelia hissed. "I gave him enough to shut down a bull." Jason stood. "He's going to tell them everything." "No, he won't," she snapped. "He can barely speak." Jason's eyes narrowed. "You said he wouldn't survive. You promised." "I was wrong," she screamed. "Do you think I planned for this?" Silence fell. Then Amelia whispered, "We wait. One day. Let's see if he remembers anything." Jason didn't reply. He just stared at the broken wine glass. At the red stains on the carpet that weren't from wine. At the hospital. Daniel woke with a jolt. It was 2:18 a.m. The room was dim. Machines beeped beside him. His throat burned. He reached slowly for the cup of water beside him, but his arm was still too weak. A nurse rushed in. "You're awake," she whispered, surprised. "That's amazing. What happened?" Daniel's voice was a broken whisper. "You were declared dead. But you weren't. You were in some sort of toxin-induced coma. But you're safe now." Daniel's eyes widened. "Amelia," he croaked. The nurse's smile faded. "She left after they brought you in." Police. Call police." The nurse nodded quickly. "Already on it." Later that morning, police station. Detective Sarah Collins sat behind her desk, reviewing the report Ravi had filed. She was in her early 40s, sharp-eyed, with a habit of not trusting things that looked too neat on paper. Amelia's version of Daniel's death didn't add up. No medical examiner. No official autopsy. No family notification. Rushed funeral. Prepaid luxury vacation booked the same day. And now, Daniel had come back from the grave. Literally. Ravi sat across from her, sipping tea nervously. "I knew something wasn't right," he said. She smiled. No tears. Talked about a trip. It was just wrong. Collins nodded slowly. "You did good. We'll take it from here." She pulled up Amelia's financial records. Multiple large withdrawals. A life insurance policy worth nearly $500,000. And a man named Jason Stone showing up regularly in her recent transactions. Collins leaned back in her chair, cracked her knuckles, and smiled coldly. "Let's pay her a visit." Hospital, same afternoon. Daniel sat up slightly now, pain shooting through his arms and legs with every movement. But his mind was clear. Detective Collins entered his room gently. "Mr. Hale," she said softly. "I'm Detective Sarah Collins. I need to ask you a few questions, if you're up to it." He nodded, barely. "Do you remember what happened to you?" Daniel took a long breath. "Wine," he rasped. "She gave me wine. Said it was imported." "Did it taste strange?" "Yes. Bitter. Then, pain. Blackout." Collins scribbled something in her notebook. "Do you know a man named Jason Stone?" Daniel's eyes flickered. "He was with her. At the funeral. Are you aware she tried to fast-track your burial? Signed papers without a medical check?" Daniel's silence said it all. Collins stepped forward. "We're building a case. But we need your help. Every memory you can share." Daniel nodded slowly. Then whispered, "She tried to kill me. Amelia's house, that night." The knock on the door came at 9:03 p.m. Amelia looked through the peephole and saw Detective Collins. She opened it slowly, pretending surprise. "Can I help you, officer?" "Mrs. Hale," Collins said calmly, "we need you to come down to the station. There are questions regarding your husband's incident." "My dead husband?" Amelia asked, feigning confusion. "He's not dead," Collins said bluntly. "And he's talking." Amelia's face froze. Jason, hidden in the kitchen, grabbed a bag and slipped out the back. Collins noticed the movement from the corner of her eye but said nothing. Yet. 2 hours later, police interrogation room. Amelia sat with folded arms, her voice cool and composed. "I was in shock. I thought he was dead. That's why I didn't check everything. It was a mistake." "Do you often sign death documents without medical approval?" Collins asked. "I trusted what I saw. He wasn't breathing." "You also bought plane tickets the same day. Cashed a life insurance policy. Had someone new sleeping in your house." "That's not illegal," Amelia snapped. "But poisoning someone is." Amelia's mouth went dry. "We found traces of a paralyzing toxin in his blood," Collins said, placing a file in front of her. "One that can be slipped into drinks. Tasteless. But if given in the right dose, mimics death." "I didn't." "Jason Stone's fingerprints were on the wine bottle," Collins interrupted. Amelia's shoulders sank slightly. Collins leaned in. "He's gone, by the way. Fled. We found your burner phone. The texts. He sold you out." Amelia's hand trembled. "I suggest you talk," Collins said. "Before he pins it all on you." Back in the hospital, next morning. Daniel sat beside the window, staring out at the cloudy sky. The nurse brought him a tray, but he didn't touch the food. He was thinking. Not just about Amelia. But about all the signs he missed. The late nights. The empty eyes. The cold kisses. Love, he realized, can sometimes blind you more than hate ever will. A quiet knock broke his thoughts. Detective Collins entered. "We have her. She's talking." Jason ran, "But we'll get him too." Daniel didn't smile. He just nodded. Collins looked at him a moment, then said softly, "You were buried alive. Most wouldn't have survived. But you did." "Why?" he asked, his voice hoarse. She tilted her head. "Why what? Why did I live?" Collins looked him straight in the eyes. "Because you weren't done yet." Elsewhere, midnight. Jason Stone stepped off a private boat onto a quiet dock in South America. A man in a dark suit greeted him. "You have the money?" the man asked. Jason opened a briefcase. "As promised. New name, new ID. Everything you need. As long as no one finds you." Jason nodded. "They won't. Amelia will take the fall. She always loved the spotlight." The man chuckled. "What a shame. Love makes fools of everyone." Jason's eyes narrowed. A network error occurred. Please check your connection and try again. If this issue persists, please contact us through our help center at help.openai.com. Daniel stared at his reflection in the hospital mirror. The bruises on his neck had faded slightly. His cheeks were hollow. His eyes looked sunken, almost unfamiliar. It wasn't just his body that had changed. He felt like a stranger to himself. A man who had once trusted blindly. Loved deeply. Believed that marriage meant forever. But now, every memory he had with Amelia was laced with lies. Poison. Literally. He touched the side of his neck. The doctor had explained, a rare poison. Slows your heartbeat. Shuts down movement. Mimics death. A medical miracle you woke up when you did. Daniel knew better. It wasn't a miracle. It was unfinished business. There was something they weren't telling him. Something deeper. Amelia's betrayal was only the surface of this twisted iceberg. A quiet knock at the door pulled him back. Detective Sarah Collins entered, holding a thick manila file. She placed it gently on his bedside table. "Jason hasn't been caught," she said. "Interpol's involved now. His trail went cold 2 nights ago after he crossed into Brazil." Daniel stayed silent. "He had help," Collins added. "A fake identity broker. Paid in cash." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "How much cash?" $500,000. He blinked. "That's my life insurance money." Collins nodded. "Your wife cashed it out early. Claimed immediate financial hardship. We believe it was split between them." Daniel's heart thudded slowly in his chest. So, this was never about love. "No," Collins said. "It was about money." Flashback, 1 year earlier. It was a rainy Wednesday when Amelia first met Jason. Daniel had been on a business trip. She was drinking alone at a hotel bar. Her eyes had been red from a fight she and Daniel had the night before, one of many. Jason sat down beside her, charming and confident. "I don't usually approach married women," he'd said, "but you look like someone who needs to be seen." She laughed, bitterly. "You're right. I'm married. But I haven't felt seen in years." That night, she didn't go home. And from that moment, a deadly plan began forming. Present, Police Archives Room. Detective Collins opened Amelia's seized laptop. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, digging into hidden folders. And there it was. A file named simply, Plan B. Inside were screenshots, bank records, false identity files, and an audio note recorded only 3 weeks before Daniel's death. Amelia's voice filled the speakers. If he doesn't drink it, we wait. But once he's out, you take his pulse, confirm nothing. No mistakes. I'll handle the paperwork. In 2 days, we'll be free. The money will land by Friday. Then Jason's voice, low and calm. What if he wakes up? Amelia laughs softly. Then we bury him deep. Collins shuddered. She copied the files onto a drive and locked it away. She'd heard lies before, but this wasn't just betrayal. It was execution. Hospital room, next morning. Daniel opened his eyes to find someone standing silently at the end of his bed. It wasn't a nurse. It was a woman in her mid-60s. Short gray hair, firm posture, but kind eyes. "Who are you?" he asked, voice weak. She stepped closer. "My name is Ellen. I'm your aunt." He frowned. "Aunt Ellen? From my dad's side?" She nodded. "I came as soon as I heard." "I'm so sorry, Daniel. I wasn't there for you earlier. I had no idea what she was doing to you." He blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" Ellen looked around, then sat beside him. "You were never alone." "Not really. Amelia cut off everyone in your life. Your friends. Family. She blocked my number on your phone. She isolated you on purpose." Daniel swallowed hard. "Why?" "She was grooming you to be disposable. She wanted control. And when you started questioning her, she panicked." He remembered the argument. Just days before it all went black. "You don't trust me anymore, do you?" Amelia had asked, eyes cold. He hadn't replied. And now he knew, that silence had sealed his fate. Elsewhere, South America. Jason sat inside a candlelit room, flipping through a fake passport. New name. New life. But he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He had ditched the phone. Changed appearance. Grown a beard. But paranoia had become a constant shadow. He looked at the tattoo on his wrist, Amelia's name, in cursive. He rubbed it hard. It didn't fade. He stared at it. Then muttered, "You better not talk." Police station, interrogation room. Amelia sat, hands trembling. She had been charged with attempted murder, fraud, obstruction of justice. Her trial was being fast-tracked, and the media had already painted her as a modern-day Black Widow. "I want to speak to Daniel," she said suddenly. Collins raised an eyebrow. "He doesn't want to see you." "I need to explain." "You had your chance." "I loved him," Amelia whispered. "No," Collins said, voice low. "You used him. But he's stronger than you think. He's not the same man you buried." Hospital, same day. Daniel was walking now, slowly, with a cane. Each step burned, but he welcomed the pain. It reminded him he was alive. As he turned a corner, he heard hushed voices. "Jason hasn't just disappeared," said a man in a suit. "We think he had help. Possibly a third person in this plot." Daniel stopped. "A third person? Who?" Collins asked in the hallway. "We don't know. But financial records show another account connected to Amelia's. Money was routed through it." "The name?" "Elizabeth Langford." Daniel's chest tightened. "Beth. His assistant." Flashback, 6 months earlier. Beth had worked with Daniel for nearly 3 years. She was organized, friendly, and always stayed late when he needed help. He'd once confided in her about Amelia. The distance. The fights. Beth had listened patiently, always saying the right things. Now he remembered the time she offered him imported wine from a client gift basket. He'd declined. She seemed disappointed. Back then, it felt small. Now it felt like a crack in the dam. Back to present. She was in it too, Daniel said quietly. Collins nodded. We're looking for her. She left town 3 days ago. No forwarding address. Daniel sat down heavily. The betrayal wasn't over. How do you survive, he said slowly, when everyone close to you wanted you gone? Collins met his eyes. You rebuild. From zero. With truth. Meanwhile, unknown location. Beth sat in a car, watching the news on her tablet. Amelia Hale faces trial for attempted murder and conspiracy. Beth closed the screen. She looked at the envelope beside her. A new passport. Tickets to Switzerland. And a note written in Jason's handwriting. They'll never find us. If they do, run alone. She lit the note on fire and watched it burn. 1 week later, courtroom. Daniel walked slowly into the courtroom. Every step was witnessed by cameras. Journalists whispered frantically. Flashbulbs popped. He took his seat across from Amelia. Her eyes met his. She looked different now, tired, pale, and somehow smaller. He didn't look away. The judge entered. The trial began. The prosecutor laid it out with clinical precision. The wine. The poison. The falsified paperwork. The early insurance claim. The laughter at the funeral. The accidental burial. Amelia stared ahead, blankly. Then, the voice recording was played. Her voice. Planning it all. The courtroom went silent. Then came Daniel's turn. He stood, hands shaking. The cane clicked with every step to the witness stand. He looked straight ahead. My name is Daniel Hale, he said. And I was buried alive by the woman I trusted most. People in the courtroom gasped. I was silenced. Erased. But now, I speak for the truth. His words hung in the air like thunder. That night, back in his room. Daniel lay in bed, unable to sleep. There were too many shadows. Too many memories. He reached under the bed and pulled out a small journal. One he'd started since waking up. He wrote. They tried to bury me. But I wasn't done. The truth has roots. And now, it's breaking through the surface. He paused. Then wrote the last line slowly. Beth is next. Daniel sat quietly by the window of his temporary apartment, the soft ticking of the old wall clock keeping him company. The trial had adjourned for the weekend, and for the first time in weeks, there was silence, not in the world, but inside him. He flipped open his journal and scribbled 3 names. Amelia, tried to kill me. Jason, disappeared. Beth, hiding something. He tapped his pen thoughtfully. Beth. His former assistant. The one who always smiled kindly. Brought him coffee with extra cream. Listened when Amelia didn't. He had trusted her. Now, she was gone, vanished from her apartment, her phone disconnected, her bank account emptied. Police had issued a bolo, but Daniel wasn't convinced they were looking hard enough. He knew Beth. She was quiet, clever, and calculated. She didn't run on panic. She vanished with purpose. Flashback, 2 years earlier. Beth stood beside Daniel in the office kitchen, pouring tea. You look tired, she said gently. Amelia's upset again, he said. She says I don't make time for her anymore. Beth glanced at him. You're doing your best, Daniel. But not everyone wants your best. Some people want control. He blinked. What do you mean? She shrugged. Just saying. You work so hard. You deserve someone who sees that. Back then, her words had sounded friendly. Now they felt like seeds. Planted carefully. Present, Detective Collins' office. Tell me everything you remember about Beth, Collins said, recording device on. Daniel leaned forward. She started working for me after my last assistant moved to Chicago. She was efficient. Friendly. But never too personal. Until about a year ago. Collins nodded. What changed? She started asking about my marriage. Small things. Then offering help. One day, I told her Amelia was acting cold. Next week, Amelia blew up at me over nothing. It felt like someone was feeding her. You think Beth told Amelia what you shared? I don't know. But Beth played both sides. Now I'm sure of it. Collins leaned back. We traced a wire transfer Amelia made to an unregistered account. It was withdrawn in Zurich. That's where Beth's trail ends. Daniel frowned. Switzerland? Collins nodded. She's out of our reach for now. Daniel's fingers tightened into a fist. Then I'll find her myself. Zurich, Switzerland, 2 days later. Beth Langford sat at a small cafe near Lake Zurich, dressed in a long coat and dark glasses. She sipped espresso and watched the street. Every sound made her flinch. Every stranger's glance felt like a warning. She wasn't built for running. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Are you enjoying the Alps, Beth? Her heart stopped. She looked around. Nothing. Just people walking, laughing, shopping. No one suspicious. But the message felt like a dagger. Unknown number. You shouldn't have helped Amelia. You were never part of the plan. But now you are. Beth stood suddenly, nearly knocking over her chair. She stuffed cash on the table and walked quickly down the street. She didn't know it yet, but she wasn't the only one being watched. Back in the States, Daniel's apartment. Daniel stared at his phone, scrolling through pictures from years ago. Beth in the office. Beth at a company dinner. Beth hugging Amelia at a fundraiser. That photo stopped him. He zoomed in. Amelia was laughing. Beth's arm around her shoulder. But it wasn't the pose, it was Jason, in the background. Wearing a waiter's uniform. Holding a wine tray. Daniel's stomach dropped. They all knew each other. He printed the photo and rushed to Collins. This isn't random, he said. They weren't strangers. They planned this together. Collins examined the photo. You sure that's Jason? Daniel nodded. He had a tattoo on his wrist. Right there. She stared hard. Then picked up her phone. Run a background check on Beth Langford, cross-reference aliases, travel, and associates. We may have a ring, not just a triangle. Daniel whispered, how deep does this go? Zurich, night. Beth entered a rundown apartment in the old city. The place smelled of mold and cigarettes. The man waiting for her inside wore a long coat and had a scar across his cheek. You were followed, he said coldly. No, I wasn't. He threw a folded note at her. He knows where you are. Beth opened it. Inside was a printout, her passport photo, local address, and train route. Jason's handwriting was scrawled at the bottom. You owe me. You run, I find you. You talk, I bury you. Beth backed away, shaking. I want out, she whispered. I didn't sign up for this. The man lit a cigarette. There's no out. You're in this now. You helped stage a murder. Beth felt her knees buckle. I was just a messenger, she pleaded. I never touched the poison. I didn't even know the full plan. The man leaned in. Then why did you run? She had no answer. Trial day 3, courtroom. Amelia took the stand. Her lawyer had advised against it, but she insisted. She wanted to explain. The room was packed. Reporters, family, strangers, all waiting to hear what the woman who buried her husband alive had to say. She wore a white blouse and no makeup. Her hair was tied back. The perfect image of regret. I never wanted Daniel to die, she began. I was pushed. Manipulated. Jason controlled me. He told me lies. Said Daniel was cheating. That he'd hidden money. That I'd be left with nothing. Daniel watched from the gallery, jaw clenched. He said we could just scare Daniel. Just enough to make him leave. But it got out of hand. The prosecutor stepped forward. And the forged death certificate? The early life insurance claim? The recorded tape where you say, and I quote, "We bury him deep, how does that fit into a simple scare?" Amelia looked away. I was scared too. The courtroom scoffed in unison. The prosecutor's voice turned sharper. Do you know where Jason is now? No. Do you know Beth Langford? Amelia froze. She was your husband's assistant. We have photos of you together. We have financial ties. Did she help? Amelia licked her lips. No. She didn't know. Daniel stood up suddenly. She's lying. The judge banged the gavel. Sit down, Mr. Hale. But Daniel wouldn't sit. She's protecting Beth. Just like she protected Jason. They're all tied together. Amelia's face paled. And for the first time, she looked scared. Zurich, 2 days later. Beth was packing her suitcase. The train left at midnight. She had cash. A ticket. A new ID. But she also had something else. A USB drive. The only copy of the audio file no one else had heard. Jason and Amelia, arguing. Jason, you said he'd die in his sleep. Amelia, he was supposed to. Jason, we're not married. If they catch you, I walk. Remember that. Amelia, you wouldn't dare. Jason, would. You're disposable, Amelia. Beth had recorded it accidentally. Now, it was her insurance. She hesitated, burn it or use it? The knock came before she could decide. 3 knocks. Fast. Then silence. She froze. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Time's up, Beth. The door burst open. Zurich, Switzerland, 1:17 a.m. The door flew open with a force that rattled the frame. Beth dropped the USB drive as 2 men in black coats stormed into the apartment. She didn't scream. She couldn't. Her body froze as her mind raced. Had Jason found her? Was this the end? The taller of the 2 men grabbed her by the arm. Where is it? He hissed. Beth stared at him. Where is what? The file. The drive. The recording. Her eyes flicked to the floor, where the tiny USB lay just inches from the wall. I don't know what you're talking about, she whispered. The second man moved quickly, sweeping the small room. Within seconds, he spotted it. Got it, he muttered, snatching the USB and sliding it into his pocket. No! Beth screamed. The taller man slapped her hard across the face. You should have stayed quiet. Her lip bled. Her cheek burned. But her mind was suddenly clear. They didn't want her dead, not yet. They wanted what she had. And they thought they'd gotten it. But Beth had made a copy. Back in the US, Daniel's apartment. Daniel stared at the photo board he'd built across his living room wall. Each person was connected by thread. Amelia. Jason. Beth. Even Amelia's father, who died years ago under unusual circumstances. Nothing was random anymore. Everything had layers. Detective Collins called. We traced Beth's passport. She's definitely in Zurich. But here's the twist, Interpol picked up 2 known aliases linked to Jason in the same area. Within days of each other. Jason's there? Daniel asked, his voice low. Looks like it. And someone broke into Beth's place last night. Local police think she escaped out the back. Daniel's heartbeat spiked. She's still alive? Maybe. But she's not safe. Daniel exhaled. For weeks, he had been surviving. Now, he was ready to fight back. I need to go to Zurich, he said. Collins hesitated. You're not a cop, Daniel. No, I'm not. I'm the man they buried. And I want answers. Zurich, train station locker room. Beth limped into the dark corridor behind platform 7. She found locker number 418, the one she'd rented weeks ago, and opened it with a trembling hand. Inside was a small envelope and a cheap smartphone. She opened the envelope. 1 train ticket. 1 flash drive. The real recording. The one that proved everything. She powered up the phone, inserted the SIM, and recorded a message. If you're seeing this, I'm either dead or running. My name is Beth Langford. I was Daniel Hale's assistant. I helped his wife stage a plan that nearly killed him. But I didn't know the full truth. Amelia and Jason had done this before. They call it the grief exit. Fake a death, steal the life insurance, and vanish. I have evidence. The attached file has the voices of Amelia and Jason planning the murder. You'll hear it for yourself. I'm sorry for what I've done. But I won't die for their secrets. She uploaded the video and file to a secure link and hit send. She sent it to 4 people. One of them was Daniel. Airport lounge, later that night. Daniel checked his phone as he waited for his connecting flight to Zurich. A message had arrived from a private sender. Click this. It will change everything. B. He opened the link and watched Beth's face appear on the screen. Bruised. Tired. Broken. But alive. When the recording played and Amelia's voice said, "We bury him deep. This time, no mistakes." He almost dropped the phone. It was real. Amelia had lied. Under oath. Jason wasn't just some lover. He was a predator. A repeat offender. Daniel's heart pounded. But something else struck him. Beth had risked everything to send this. She wasn't trying to run anymore. She was trying to make it right. He looked out the window as his plane was called to board. Zurich was waiting. Zurich, abandoned hotel. Beth crouched behind a rusted vending machine in the basement of a boarded-up hotel. Her breath came in short, sharp bursts. She had felt the men chasing her as she ran through the alleys. She'd seen the second man's reflection in a store window. She knew they were close. She clutched the small burner phone to her chest. The backup flash drive was taped to the battery. She had nothing else left. Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the stairs. She curled into a ball behind the machine. "Beth," a voice called out. She held her breath. It wasn't Jason. It was someone younger. "American. We know you're here. Come out. You're only making this worse." The footsteps grew closer. Then silence. She peeked. No one. Then a hand grabbed her wrist. She screamed, flailing, until the figure stepped into the light. Beth. It's me, Daniel. She froze. His face. The one she thought she'd buried. Why, you're supposed to be dead. So are you, he said gently. They sat on the floor, hidden beneath old sheets. Beth told him everything. How Jason first contacted her through a fake job listing. How Amelia slowly brought her into the inner circle. How they tested the waters with staged confrontations to see if Daniel would break. She wanted your money, yes. But she also wanted to punish you. For what? Daniel asked. Beth's voice broke. For not loving her the way she needed. At least that's what she told Jason. Daniel felt the sting of guilt, but also rage. And Jason? He's a con artist. This is what he does. He finds weak marriages, manipulates both sides, then profits when someone dies. He's already used 4 different identities. This was the 5th. Daniel stood up. It ends now. Back in the U.S. courtroom. Detective Collins burst into the judge's chamber. I need an emergency hearing, she said, dropping a stack of documents on the desk. We have new evidence. From Zurich. Including audio files, video testimony, and proof of ongoing conspiracy to commit fraud and attempted murder. The judge leaned forward. Who sent this? Daniel Hale. And a witness named Beth Langford. The judge's face turned pale. But Mr. Hale is alive, Collins said. And about to return. Zurich, 24 hours later. Daniel sat in a tiny internet cafe with Beth beside him. He typed a message to Collins. Evidence uploaded. Make sure Amelia hears it in court. We'll be home in 36 hours. Be ready. Beth looked at him. You think she'll confess? She won't have to, Daniel said. The world's about to hear everything. Courtroom, day of the hearing. Amelia entered confidently, surrounded by lawyers. She wore a navy dress. Her hair curled. She looked every bit the grieving widow trying to protect herself from slander. The courtroom murmured. News had leaked of a shocking new development. Amelia sat. Adjusted her papers. Looked calm. Until the judge entered, holding a tablet. Ms. Hale, the judge said, we've received new evidence from an eyewitness, your former assistant, and a very much alive Mr. Hale. We will now play this for the court. Beth's video began to play on the screen. Her swollen face. Her tearful voice. Then came the recording. Jason's voice. Amelia's voice. The plan. Silence fell. Amelia's face turned ghost white. The prosecutor stood up. Your Honor, we request that Ms. Hale be taken into custody immediately for attempted murder, insurance fraud, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy. Amelia didn't move. She looked around the room. At the cameras. The jurors. The spectators. And then, she laughed. Not a laugh of humor. A laugh of madness. I should have finished the job, she whispered. I should have buried him deeper. Backstage, after court. Daniel and Collins stood beside each other, watching as Amelia was led away in cuffs. You still want to press charges against Beth? Collins asked. Daniel shook his head. She made mistakes. But she tried to fix them. She saved my life. Collins nodded. The DA might still want to talk to her. But I think they'll go easy. Daniel looked out the courthouse window. Jason's still out there. We'll find him, Collins promised. And when we do, he won't be able to run again. Night, hotel room. Beth stared at the city lights from the balcony. Daniel walked out beside her. "I'm sorry," she said again. "For everything. You told the truth. That's what matters now." He handed her an envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Plane ticket. Clean start. New name. Go somewhere safe." Beth's eyes filled with tears. "Why would you help me?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Because the dead don't carry grudges. Only the living get to forgive." 3 weeks later, Lisbon, Portugal. The sea breeze carried a strange calm across the marina as Daniel sat quietly in a café by the docks, staring into his cup of black coffee. His face had color again. His hands no longer trembled. But his eyes still held the story of a man who had returned from the grave. Beth had left 2 days ago. She was now in Argentina under a new name, starting over. Daniel had arranged everything, because deep down, he knew she had tried to make things right, even if she had once helped destroy his life. Now, he waited. He wasn't just in Lisbon for peace. He was here for Jason. Interpol's email, 3 days earlier. Subject: high probability cited. Mr. Hale. Our systems flagged a passport scan at Lisbon port. The name used matches one of the known aliases of Jason Myers, your wife's accomplice. Local surveillance confirms the face matches. Our hands are tied legally until we get full extradition approval, but if you're there, please proceed with caution. Back at the cafe. Daniel's eyes scanned the crowd. He had spent years trusting people who betrayed him. Now, he looked at everyone like they might be a shadow in disguise. Then he saw him. Walking confidently in a gray linen suit. Sunglasses on. Lean, with a fake tan and a cell phone glued to his ear. Jason. Daniel stood slowly, placing a few euros under the saucer, and followed. Down the alley behind the marina. Jason moved fast, like a man used to being chased. But he wasn't running, he was arranging his next scheme. His voice echoed off the alley walls. "No, he's dead. The whole insurance claim went through. I'm telling you, it's a clean slate." "No," the woman cracked, but the files were scrubbed. "He's not coming back." Daniel moved closer, steps silent. "You're wrong," Daniel said. Jason spun. The blood drained from his face. "You." Before he could finish, Daniel lunged. The punch landed square in his jaw. Jason hit the wall and slid down, stunned. Daniel didn't hit him again. He wasn't here for revenge. He was here for justice. "You buried me," Daniel said. "Now it's your turn to be exposed." 48 hours later, back in the U.S. The courtroom buzzed with reporters. The headlines were everywhere. Man returns from the dead to testify against his killers. Funeral fraud uncovered, shocking murder for money plot. Daniel Hale breaks silence, "I was supposed to stay dead." Amelia sat quietly in the defendant's chair, shackled, her eyes no longer cold, but blank. Jason, bruised and handcuffed, was led into the courtroom beside her. He looked around like a man still believing he could escape. But there were no exits left. Beth's video had gone public. The recording had aired on national TV. Every lie, every detail, every plan was now exposed. Daniel took the stand, facing the 2 people who had planned to erase him from existence. "I died once," he said slowly. "Not physically. But emotionally. The moment I saw my own funeral, heard my wife laugh with the man she loved more than me, I broke. But I came back. Not for revenge. For truth. For anyone who's ever been betrayed and left for dead, this is for them." Amelia's turn. The court asked if she wanted to speak. She stood, eyes hollow, and stared at Daniel. I was broken before you ever met me, she said. You tried to love me. I tried to let you. But I was always somewhere else. When Jason offered a way out, I took it. I thought killing you would free me. But the moment we buried you, I became more lost than ever. Daniel said nothing. Her words weren't an apology. They were just air. The judge didn't need more time. She looked at Amelia and Jason, and said with finality, "You are both sentenced to 45 years in federal prison for conspiracy, attempted murder, and financial fraud. No parole." Outside the courthouse, Daniel didn't speak to the cameras. He simply walked out into the sunlight, for the first time truly free. Detective Collins met him on the steps. "You did it," she said. "No," Daniel replied. "We did." She nodded. "You gonna stay here? Or go disappear like Beth?" Daniel looked at the sky, then smiled softly. "No. I think it's time I finally live." 6 months later, a quiet town in Oregon. Daniel moved into a cabin surrounded by pine trees. No phone. No media. Just peace. He taught art at the local community center, working with kids who'd been through trauma. He never told them his story. He didn't need to. But sometimes, when they painted pictures of broken homes and scarred faces, he understood more than he let on. One winter morning, he opened his mailbox and found a small envelope, no return address. Inside was a postcard. On the front, a mountain view in Patagonia. On the back, "I made it. I teach English to kids in a small village now. They don't know what I did. They just call me Miss B. I'll live with the shame forever, but I'm trying to earn a new life, one good day at a time. Thank you for saving me. B." Daniel stared at the card for a long time, then placed it in a box labeled Truths. Inside the box were only 3 things. A funeral program from his own service. A copy of the police report. And now, this postcard. Later that night, Daniel stood by the mirror. He stared into his own eyes for a long time. For months, he had been haunted by the question, why me? But now he realized, the question wasn't, why me? It was, what now? He had survived betrayal, a fake death, and the collapse of everything he knew. But somehow, life had given him a second chance. Final scene, at the community center. A small boy named Leo walked up with a drawing. It was a picture of a man standing in the rain, holding an umbrella over a younger version of himself. "It's you," Leo said shyly. "You help people." Daniel knelt beside him. "I think you help me more," he said. And for the first time since his own funeral, Daniel Hale smiled, not just with his face, but with his heart. Final life lesson. Sometimes, life buries us before we're dead, under betrayal, heartbreak, or lies. But if we keep breathing, keep walking, and fight for truth, we may find that we weren't being buried at all. We were being planted. And from the darkest soil, something stronger can rise.